name is Jamie Cobes. I'm a tutor training and digital literacy project manager for Wisconsin Literacy. Every month I run this series called Digital Tools for Teaching. So our topic this month is vocabulary and word work activities. And we will get started. It is kind of a large group today, but I absolutely don't mind if you have a question, if you just want to unmute or even a comment and hop in. You can also put any comments or questions in the chat as we go along. Here is the agenda for our hour together. I would like to first answer the question, why use digital tools for vocab and word work activities? And then give us a comparison of some of my favorite digital tools to kind of help you decide which ones work best for you. I'm going to give you lots of examples of digital activities today. And then if there's time, and ideally I'd like for there to be some time to explore any of the tools that interest you, I'm here to support and answer any questions that you have. If you are a note taker, or if you feel like there's so much information coming at you today that it's overwhelming, please know that I will, after this training, send an email as a follow-up with a handout that will give you all the links to the tools and the examples that I'll show. So the first thing I'd like to address is that while I think digital tools are great for making engaging vocabulary activities, I think there is a good way and then a better way to create digital vocabulary activities. So I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison right now of two sets of flashcards, same list of words, but two different sets of flashcards. So I have this yellow set and I have a blue set. If you'd like to look at them on your own, if you've got a phone with you, you can scan the QR codes. Otherwise, you can just watch your screen, and I'm going to go to each of them as well. But once I'm done showing them to you, I'd like you to tell me which one you think is more effective, the yellow set or the blue set. And let me make sure that I have this sharing setting. Okay, so let's first do the yellow set. Both of these flashcards were made with a tool called Flippity that I'll be showing you more of later today. Here's my yellow set, so I'm just going to scroll through. These are French words. All right, so just 4 words in the yellow set. Here's the blue set. Same words.
Sortir. Monter. Aller. Ralentir. Sortir.
Okay. So same set of 4 words from French. Yellow set or blue set. Could you put in the chat which you think is more effective? Okay, we got lots of votes for blue. One with an explanation because of the sound and the pictures. Okay, thank you for your votes. That is what I was going for. I think effective digital vocabulary activities should be multisensory. They should involve lots of different skills. So the yellow set, I had to read the word, and then I got a translation from French to English. But with the blue set, I could listen to the word being pronounced in French as well. They should also involve different modes or senses, right? So with that yellow set, I was just seeing text. Okay, and so that was visual, but only sort of one way of seeing. With the blue set, I saw the word written, I heard it, okay, and I saw a picture. Now, the last time I did this training, I had lots of people say, yeah, but Jamie, those pictures could be misinterpreted. Like sometimes it's useful to have a translation. So I will grant you that. But I do think that the pictures do a nice job of maybe not allowing the brain to rely on a translation and making sense of that word with a visual. And then a great thing for both of them, the yellow and the blue set, is this tactile experience that both a physical set of flashcards would allow us, but also that digital set where I was clicking to see the flashcards switch. One thing that I prefer about the blue set is that the blue set allows me to contextualize those words and make them culturally relevant. So you may not have known from the yellow set, that the learner was learning these French words to get their driver's license in France. But in the second set, that becomes clear because I've contextualized those pictures and I've made them culturally relevant. So I chose street signs, but I made those street signs ones that you would see in France and not in the US. Digital tools allow us to make those contextualizations and the cultural connections. And then finally, a great reason, to use digital tools is because you can gamify your vocabulary activities. So digital tools will give a learner immediate feedback, whether they got something right or wrong. Sometimes that feedback is a sign that says you're correct or nope, try again. But sometimes it's multisensory. It's like an auditory feedback where you hear a ding or a certain kind of music. They are timed, scored, and incentivized. So those are all really great qualities of digital tools that help make vocabulary activities effective for the learner. Here are some of the digital tools that I'm going to talk about today that I think are great for making engaging vocabulary activities. And I'll just pause here with this matrix. I tried to select the tools I think that would allow you to create the most engaging. So they allow you to include a video or some sort of visual image or audio, and sometimes in multiple languages. I also tried to stick to the tools that I knew were free or mostly free. And when they're not, I have a pretty good reason for including them. I tried to keep it to tools that were fairly user-friendly. And then on the right here, I have some notes. So Jamboard, I think Jamboard is a Google product. It is free. I think it's pretty easy to use. And you can insert images, but not audio. It's a whiteboard app. And Google, unfortunately, is phasing it out next December, so we have a year to use it. But I do think it's worth learning because whatever Google decides is going to replace this whiteboard app, I'm sure that the skills that you learn using it will transfer. Just Google Slides or PowerPoint are a great tool to use for vocabulary activities. They are free, fairly user-friendly. And they allow you to insert images, videos, and audio files. But it does, as well as Jamboard, I forgot to mention this, it does require an app to use on a phone. So if you have a learner that's using a phone, they would have to put like a Google Slides or a Google Jamboard app on their phone, but not so with a computer. WordWall is one of those tools that isn't free, but I thought it was pretty important to include because it's one of the only tools I'll show you today that has a database. So teachers or tutors that have already created activities, you can search that and use their activities. And so I think that's a nice feature. It's also pretty easy to use. Flippity, I just showed you a little bit about, is where I created those flashcards. It is free. It is one of the most challenging, I think, digitally to use, but once you master the steps of how to build any of the templates, it's pretty straightforward. And I love it because you can insert the images, the videos, and the audio in multiple languages. And Padlet. It is slightly free. You're limited to making 3 Padlets, but it's pretty easy to use. And again, it offers all of these audio video options. Any questions or comments right now? I just want to pause. All right, as I move forward, I am not going to go tool by tool. I'm actually going to go vocabulary activity by vocabulary activity and show you how lots of these tools can be used to create the same type of vocabulary activity. That made sense in my head as an organization system, because then it gives you an opportunity to choose the tool that works for you and your program, and to see how it can be used to make multiple activities. One thing in the chat, I'll check. What about if a student uses a tablet? Good question. So tablet, smartphone, both are going to require for the Jamboard, the slides, that they have an app on the tablet to access those. The other 3, WordWall, Flippity, Padlet, those are online internet-based. So as long as they're in the internet browser, they should be able to access those activities. So the first type of vocabulary activity that I want to talk about is a personal dictionary. Often we can have students make lists of words that they're learning in a physical notebook, but you can also do this as a digital activity. And so I want to show you how you could make a personal dictionary with Google Slides, Padlet, and Jamboard. The first one is Google Slides. So Google Slides is just Google's version of PowerPoint. This is not a personal dictionary that a student made. This is actually a dictionary or a glossary that a group of teachers made around digital skills. But I'll show you how it works. For example, let's say the student was keeping a list of email vocabulary. And so here are the slides for the email vocabulary. This one is just the @ symbol. And you can see there's a template to this personal dictionary. So there's definition, there's a use it in a sentence, there's a picture, and then this microphone actually links us to an audio pronunciation of the word at. I can move to the next word in my personal dictionary on Google Slides, and it's attach. I have a definition, a sentence, a picture, and to a pronunciation. So that's a personal dictionary using Google Slides. Padlet is an online tool that it's kind of like a bulletin board. You just create posts. This is one that an English teacher created for her classroom. And the way this bulletin board is set up is you can see across the top are the new vocabulary words: conspicuous, pretentious, polarization, etc. And a student, all they have to do is click on that plus sign down below to create a new post. And the assignment was to find a picture that illustrates the word and then use the word in a sentence. I particularly love this one about pineapple on pizza. The argument about pineapple on pizza led to a polarization between people who support it and people who hate it. So this was a class dictionary. If you're just teaching one-on-one with one student, it could be a very personal dictionary where they're putting in their new words and then a sentence and a picture. And last tool that I want to show you for creating a personal dictionary is a Jamboard. This is Google's version of a whiteboard. And this is an example, of if you were teaching word parts to a student, maybe an advanced English learner, and you want to talk about Latin or Greek word parts. So here is a page where the learner was learning the prefix con or com, which means together or with. And they brainstormed all of these words that use that prefix. And The nice thing you'll see later with other activities that I love about Jamboard is just the ease with which you can kind of click and drag anything that you put on this whiteboard. And then you can add frames at the top. So this was con and com. The next prefix or root might be spec, which in Latin means see. So I'll just challenge you all right now, if you could think of and put in the chat a word that uses this root, spec or spect. Nice. Spectator, spectacle, spectate. So using Jamboard is as easy as I go to the left and I click on the sticky note, and then I'm going to write your ideas here. Spectator. Spectacle. Let's see, one more idea. Introspection. Spectacular. And then I just place them around my roots. Another nice thing about Jamboard is I can just as easily add an image to help me with my understanding. So I click on this little mountain icon and maybe Google Images. Maybe I search for spectacles, like glasses, and I put that in. So now I have a multisensory way to help me understand that root. So those are a couple of tools that you can use for personal dictionary. I'll pause and see if there are any questions or comments, and then we'll move on to the next vocabulary activity. All right, the next activity, and if you still got questions, put them in the chat. Don't let me stop you. Next activity is flashcards. I showed you a little bit about how Flippity works for flashcards. One thing I wanted to point out as well, so Flippity allows you to create audio with your flashcards. You have a side 1 and a side 2, so you could put images or video on that side 2. But the cool thing about Flippity is once you created a set of flashcards, you've got other options for that list of words. So if I click on this tab here, I can get a list. I can print that list. My learners can play a matching game that's timed. I can practice typing. So it could show me the picture and then I could type in the word and I get that immediate feedback that I am correct. And then Flippity is not just for flashcards. They offer templates for all sorts of different activities. So once I have my flashcard list, I can convert them to other activities here, like a matching game, a word scramble, a virtual breakout room, etc. So Flippity is a great tool for creating flashcards. Google Slides, like the personal dictionary, Google Slides works too for flashcards. So I would put my picture on one slide, and then I'd quiz myself or encourage the learner to quiz themselves, and then put the word on the next slide. And you can see here that I can link pronunciation just like with the personal dictionary. So picture, word on the next slide. The cool thing here is this is a video with a person who's pronouncing the verb monter, so I can see their mouth moving as well. And last flashcard builder is an app online called WordWall. It's wordwall.net. This is the one that is has a limited free version. You are limited to building 5 activities, including, I had to learn the hard way, ones that you delete. So if you make an activity and delete it, it still counts as your 5 free activities. But I found this, another teacher built this one. So this would be some word work, having students build ing words. Let's see. Keep the sound effects on just so you can get that. So I click on flip, I get trimming, and then I also have to interact with it to tell it, did I get it right or did I get it wrong? Chop, click flip, it's chopping. A nice thing about WordWall as well is that it does allow you to convert your flashcard set into other activities. So here I have the option of a quiz, a game show quiz, flip tiles, etc. And I will show you with WordWall. At the bottom, if you click on community, this is how you can search for activities that other teachers have built. Now I've got so many tabs open, I don't know where my presentation is. Okay, so those are some tools that you can use to make flashcards. Questions or comments before we move to the next type of vocabulary activity?
Jamie, does WordWall count other teachers' presentations in your 5?
Okay, so the next type of activity for vocabulary is any sort of sorting, matching, or labeling activity. You can see that a lot of tools allow you to create this kind of activity, flippity included. So here is an example of a flippity word sort. Maybe. Okay, we'll come back to that one. Word slide. So this is more like if you were teaching phonemic awareness or phonics and you wanted to practice the word building. So you can see there's an ending sound, the A-K-E, so ache. And then we can click on this and it will randomly select a consonant for me, and I can get my learner to build that new word and to pronounce it. Sake. Fake. Rake. Let's see if my word sort is working. There it is. Okay, so this is actually one of my favorite templates in Flippity. It's called manipulatives, and you can see they're really easy to click and drag. So maybe imagine that I'm doing a grammar lesson and I want to teach my student the difference between when to use an and when to use a. Since I have 2 columns, there's this nifty little feature on Flippity where if I click on the settings gear in the bottom, I can change the background to 2 columns. So now my student can see that they can sort. So I would say an orange, a banana, an apple, a strawberry. So Flippity is really helpful for creating sorting activities. Jamboard is equally helpful. Remember, one of the features I love about Jamboard is just the manipulative ability. So that click and drag. So I can create the same kind of activity using Jamboard where I have and an, a kiwi, an orange, an apple. But there are other kinds of things that I could do with Jamboard as well in the sorting, labeling, matching category. So here I have just used the Post-it notes, and this is an unscramble the word activity. So the hint, we're learning about fruit with my student. The hint is I would use an. So maybe they know it starts with a vowel. And we can unscramble that word. Next type of activity could be a multiple choice or fill in the blank. So there are pen capabilities with Jamboard. I could click on this pen and I could circle the correct answer. Yesterday, I went to the store. And the third capability with Jamboard is text boxes. So you can type right on here by clicking on this T for text box. Put it right here. I bought a banana and an orange. And then finally, I can add images. Images can be dragged and dropped pretty easily. Text boxes can be dragged and dropped very easily on Jamboard as well. So I could go like this, but I could also go like this. Or I could have my student draw a line. So that was Jamboard. WordWall has sorting, matching, and labeling activities. I'll show you an example here with cleaning supplies. This one has great sound enforcement.
Duster.
Vacuum. Toilet brush.
And then finally, Padlet is a tool that you could also use to build sorting, matching, or labeling. I like Padlet for its capabilities of including some audio. So this is just a bulletin board where I've created one post with the word and one post with the picture, and they are easily moved around. So I can create a matching activity with my student. Strawberry moves to the strawberry. And here is, I create strawberry. I recorded myself saying strawberry, and that's a pretty easy to use feature in Padlet. So if I went to Kiwi and I clicked on edit post, I've got all of these options here. I can insert a link of an image. If I click on more, there's a video and audio recorder. So that's how I would insert my voice saying Kiwi. So those were sorting, matching, and labeling. Questions or comments? We've got one more type of activity. Okay, the last type of activity is sort of a catch-all, so games or anything else. I'll show you examples from Jamboard, Flippity, and WordWall. So a couple of games that I created with Jamboard. This might be a game you could play with sight words. So anything that requires automaticity and like spoken pronunciation. And you could just play Connect 4. So I created this by just copying and pasting a grid of sight words that I found in a workbook as an image. And then the last feature in Jamboard is shapes. So you can see here the circle. If I click on that, I can select a circle, and I can also change the color up at the top. So I just created little Connect 4 pieces, oops, that are easily dragged. So I'm red, my student is yellow, we're trying to do 4 in a row. So I would say him, student might come in and say very, etc. I'm gonna check the chat here. Do other teachers' WordWall activities count toward your 5 free activities? I believe that they would count as your 5 free activities if you put them in your library. But you can share a link to those activities with your student without including them in your library. You just have to remember where they are, or maybe keep a document with the links to those activities. If you edit them, if you change a teacher's activity and make it your own, then that definitely counts towards your 5 free activities. Another game that you could play with Jamboard, because it is so easy to just draw on, you could play, if you're working on pronunciation or phonics, you could play an I Spy game. So again, I just copied and pasted this I Spy picture, and then I might ask my student, use the pen tool and circle objects that you see that start with B, the sound B. Okay, so ball, bubble, wand, bear, etc. That was it. Yeah. Games that you can play with Flippity. So here's a concentration game I built with Flippity.
pet, hit,
And we're working on short consonant sounds. So those are not a match, the in pet and the I in hit.
cat, pit,
That's not it. Let's try.
hit, pit,
There we go. So it tells me I have a match, and then it takes it away. I will show you too. I'll just go to the Flippity homepage. Just at a glance, you can see there's lots of templates for different kinds of game activities that you can build with Flippity. And then word wall. This is a game I found created by another teacher. It is a game show. So that's one of their templates that you can build a fun activity with, and it's employment vocabulary. So lots of positive reinforcement musically that I got that right answer. One more. To think very well of yourself. All right. So that was a sampling with hopefully lots of inspirational examples to show you what's possible with digital vocabulary activities. The other thing I wanted to mention about digital is that because they are so accessible, like students can access them on their phones, and we carry our phones everywhere, there is a slight increased chance that students will practice these vocabulary activities outside of their sessions with you, and therefore get a little bit more repetition and review. I am going to pause here again at this comparison matrix, but this is the part of the training today. We've got lots of time left where I'm going to open it up for any questions. And I also want to give us a chance as a group to maybe vote on one of these tools if you'd like more of an in-depth demo on how I would build a certain activity. So please, in the chat, feel free to ask for that or any other questions, or go ahead and unmute.
Jamie, I would lean toward the free ones to start out with. Which would you recommend is the easiest one to attempt for the first timer?
How does the student gain access to the screen you are using? I think I understand the question and I'll start answering, but if I didn't fully understand it, please feel free to jump in. Sharing the activities with each of these digital tools is a little bit different. So with Jamboard and Google Slides, more than one person can be on that same document at the same time. So there's a way to share Jamboards and to share slides, and my student could be in that working, and then I could also be in that. With WordWall and Flippity, there are links that you would share with the student and they would go to that online and they would be in that activity. But if you had multiple students and you shared the same link, it would open as separate activities for each of them. Padlet also allows people to be in the same Padlet, the same sort of online bulletin board at the same time. You just have to set the sharing permissions for that. That's interesting. Terry asked a question and I didn't hear it. I wonder if my sound isn't working. Which tool you would recommend is the easiest to start with? Yes, and then I would lean towards trying a free tool, which is the easiest, in your opinion, to master. I think either Jamboard or Google Slides or PowerPoint, if that's what you're using, are the easiest to use and to learn how to master. Mostly like with slides or PowerPoint, I think a lot of us in our professional lives have a lot of familiarity with those. It might just be teaching students how to use it. I think Jamboard is a little bit easier to teach students how to use, because there's just that menu bar on the left. They click to add the post-it, they click to add the images. Other questions? How expensive are the non-free versions of Padlet and WordWall? Let's check. This is WordWall. The standard gives you unlimited activities that you can create, and it's $7.20 a month. The Pro is unlimited. It gives you a few more templates, and it's $10.80 a month. Padlet's very positive too. Hi, Jamie. Gentle reminder, you are beautiful. I am not seeing where their pricing is. There it is, plans and pricing. So it looks like the next step up is $6.99 a month, and that gets you 20 Padlets. Let me know if you have any other questions. I'm also happy to spend a last couple minutes deep diving into the how-tos. So if you want to know, like, how would I share a Jamboard, I could walk through that. Or how would I build a Flippity, I could walk through that. But I'm going to go with whoever asks first, or a majority if we have lots of votes in the chat. Jamboard, please. All right. So Jamboard. This is my Jamboard, and I can share it with a student by clicking the blue share button in the top right corner. When I do that, it gives me two ways to share. I can add people in groups, but they have to have a Gmail. And when I share it this way, they receive a notification in their email. So they have to open up their email and then click on it. I can also just share a link. So if I know my student is using their phone, or if I teach virtually, I can just share the link in the chat. So I sometimes think the link is an easier way to do it. I can also put that link on a document that I'm sharing with my student. So to do that, I want to make sure that this says anyone with the link. I don't want to restrict it. So anyone with the link, and then there are different permissions that I can give anyone who has the link. I can make them a viewer, so they can just see my Jamboard, but they can't interact with it. Or I can make them an editor. And an editor, if you want the student to be able to add things to the Jamboard, to move things around, or to draw, you have to give them editing permissions. So once I've set that, then I just hit copy link. That link is copied to my clipboard. And then, for example, I would just send it to my students. I will send it to you all here.